Yeah, and then just lastly on Kolo Toure, who would have joined City, I believe, after you left, but you would have played against him in his time at Arsenal. What was he like as a defender?
Again, he was in the Arsenal team, wasn't he, of the Invincible team.
Mm,
Um, I say Invincible that season. They did lose to Middlesbrough. That'll be us in the Carabao Cup or League Cup,
yeah.
whatever it was then. No, just teasing, really. Again, just a very, very good defender. That Arsenal team was sensational. At that point,
Mm,
I think Lauren was the right back. Kolo Toure, Martin Keown, predominantly, or was Sol still there, probably at the time.
yeah.
Ashley Cole, was he in that team? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a defense. You try and get him past that. Kolo was a very, very good, he was a defender. You know,
Mm,
Unbelievably, he was a defender that defended and stopped people scoring goals. I mean, you wouldn't
mm,
believe it in this day and age. That that's a that scene doesn't seem to exist anymore. He could play a little bit, but that wasn't his job. His job was to mark people, was to stop people. I obviously played with Lucas Radebe, who was obviously a little bit older, but was similar.
yeah.
Lucas was like a rash. You could not get past. You could not get past him. He was all over you, and I think Kolo Toure was probably in that same mold. Players that coming out of Africa had a similar mentality. They were there to do a job. They were there to stop you scoring at all costs.
Mm,
They were incredibly hungry. They were physical. Their desire to stop you was greater than anything else on the planet. And they were great at it. They were incredibly good, at that. And he was no different. I think he got better, obviously, as he got better on the ball. But yeah, just an incredibly good defender.
yeah, and he obviously joined City off the back of them finishing 10th, and in his 4 years there, he ended up being part of that title winning side and was a real part of that transition of City becoming what they are now. How important do you think he was in that? Because I suppose a lot of people think of De Bruyne and David Silva in that kind of transition, but there's players that were there right from the very start, like him, that must have been so important in changing the club.
Well, and obviously Yaya Toure came into that as well.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad, was he? He was quite good. One of the best. Again, I think he's forgotten as well, almost. One of the
Mm,
best, probably one of the best players in the Premier League that we've seen in terms of influence on what happened at that time. But when you're playing, when you've never won anything, you need players around you with experience that have one or two. You need evidence that what you're doing works. And I think
mm,
that's what they brought to Manchester City. They brought a culture that if we do this, we win. Because when you haven't won, well, let's keep doing this, but we don't really know that it works because we've never seen it work. And then you get experienced players come in that have won trophies and been successful. They say, no, no, trust me. If we keep doing this, it will work and we will win stuff off the back of this. And I think, again, it's people sometimes underestimate the value of those senior players and the experience that they can, not just when they're playing week in, week out, the experience they have on the training ground, the talking to the other players, the talking to the younger players.
mm.
And look, this is how we do things. This is why we are doing things. And if you keep believing the process, I've been there, I've seen it, I've done it, it works. And I think that's a huge part in a club going from being nearly winning something to winning something and then winning something again and again and again.